I,
Um,
I was just saying that you were a part of one of our best our best teams of all time. We had a lot of drafts on that team. We had um, some really good, some tough guys, right? Some tough minded individuals um, that grew up in our program, and they a lot of them started as freshmen, or and not one of those players had accolades coming out of high school or anything like that. They were all
yeah.
guys that just grew up here. And I think the special thing seeing those guys is they would go out and play in the best summer leagues in the country. They
Mhm.
saw themselves being able to compete with those guys during the summer, and they had been through the battles. They had lost, and
Yeah.
when I say lost, it's relative. Like, we never had a horrible run necessarily, but at the same time, we're not as successful as we would like to be, right? So, and the guy in that team that kind of the straw that stirred the drink was the most undersized, the guy with probably the least amount of tools. Um, and you know, David Cronin is our second baseman of that team. He's 5'8", 165 pounds, um, full of nothing but edgy aggression, um, in your face aggressiveness, not in your face like yelling in your face, but in your face. I'm here to get after it, and that's my brand. That's what I'm going to do. And our team was successful because they embraced that type of energy and attitude. Now, that team was a lot of fun, and trying to recreate that, um, it's never the same, right? Because you have a different cast of characters and different leadership. But David was that guy. David had redshirted his first year, and his second year, we have a pretty good team. We have a guy by the name of Jeff Bohm, um, who is a really good player. And Jeff, former SEC player, he's big, strong, physical, um, and and our season changed that year when we inserted David Cronin into our lineup, and David brought energy. David brought life. He brought the bounce, like the playing hard, and so I feel very fortunate that we allowed David to be himself, which meant sometimes we had to rein it in a little bit, but
Sure.
I'd rather have that than always kicking guys. Come on, guys, we got to get it up. We got to get
Right.
going. We gotta get
Right.
going.
Well,
Um,
and it's I'm sorry to interrupt. Am I
no,
good to go? Okay. But I mean, like, I think that's such a good point where it's like I've got I would much rather have a group of kids who are a little bit questionable in terms of their actions and their energy level and their the way they play the game. It's a little bit in your face. I'd much rather have 18 of those guys and then calm them down than a bunch of church mouses and say, I need you guys to try harder. you know
well, yeah, and like, um, where do players turn to emulate? Who do they follow? Right. Well, they follow Major League Baseball. Okay, and Major League Baseball is exciting this time of the year because everybody's off to a fresh start. Okay, but a month from now, Major League Baseball is going to settle down and they get into the routine of just playing, right?
Mhm.
Okay, but if you want to know what it looks like, what the game's supposed to look like, um, that's more like high school, more like college environment, watch the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
Watch the playoffs. Like, people say, oh, these guys don't care. These guys don't care. Well, when I'm playing 6 games in 7 days, week after week after week, emotionally my tank runs empty and I just get on the treadmill of I gotta go do my deal.
Mhm.
But when it comes to playing the game the right way, I watched Mike Trout hit backside ground balls. I saw Mookie Betts hit backside line drives. I saw guys staying on baseballs trying to win baseball games, and I saw dugouts going crazy for things that happened successfully. And I just that's our sport, right? Those guys were invested. It was a one and done situation. Those guys had to perform, and the intensity was great, and the performances were fun, and the emotions were high, and those guys were playing with an edge at that point. And I think if we can show our players, like, hey, this is the way it is, this is who we want to be, you want to play like that, whereas when I show up to Lake Point down in Atlanta and it's a 8 a.m. game and they just played 2 games the night before and there's nobody at the park to watch, how do you show up? Do you show up with that same edge? Or do you show up like, oh, let's just get through this, and I'm gonna play even. Okay, yeah, you do have to, but why can't you play even at a high intensity level? Like, you played very even as a player, but your even was like up here. It wasn't like baseline even. It was like, I'm gonna raise my intensity, but I'm gonna play even at that level, right? Not calm down, relax. Like, you're not gonna be relaxed, dude. You're not gonna be relaxed. You're gonna be intense and get comfortable with that intensity. Get comfortable being intense.
Right. The terminology of parking brake off, and relaxed aggression. What does that look like? I think, and all this is interrelated in terms of playing with an edge, whether it was college, high school, little league, whatever it is, the initial reaction from me to a guy who's kind of shoving and kind of throwing it in your face and being like, I'm here to win. Your initial reaction as a player is like, I don't like him, right? He's disrespecting the game. He's trying too hard. He's making me feel uncomfortable, right? It took me a long time to figure out that, like, he's going to keep doing that unless you make unless you make a change, unless you change that course of action. So you can either complain about him and keep getting it shoved up your ass, or you can make a change and fight back. But I think so many players, and I've done this myself, I think so many players are so satisfied with looking at somebody that they're either intimidated by on the other side of the field, or feel threatened by. They live in the comfort of criticism and say, I hate that guy. I hate playing against that guy. I'm sure everybody hates that kid on the other team. It's like, you gotta fight against that. I want 25 of those guys, and then calm them down. If they get too ridiculous, you calm them down. But I just think we being baseball players, initially, we're just like, oh, I don't like what he's doing. I don't like the way he plays the game. Okay. Do you think he cares about your feelings towards him on how he plays the game? No. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, and while you're sitting there worried about, you don't like the way that guy plays, or you don't like the more time you spend thinking about that,
right,
the more he's winning. and
sure.
and it's the classic, I hate him if he's against me, love him if he's for me.
Sure.
Like, that's the ultimate, right? That's the ultimate compliment. And like that, the guy you're describing is all in for his team. He's going to do whatever it takes to give his team the edge in winning the game. Whatever it takes, he will do that for his team. And the other team doesn't like that sometimes because it might go a little over the top, but it's, you're right. It's harder. Oh, just play even keel, play even. You can't play this game with any emotion. No, how about if we learn to play it with emotion while maintaining control? Like that's like if you're telling me Max Scherzer or Verlander or I don't know, any of those elite performers like Tom Brady, they've got some emotional investment in there, and you see it come out at times where they'll give a fist pump or something. Now it's not always over the top, but you see it, like Tom Brady comes uncoiled at touchdowns, because Tom Brady is the easiest guy to point to where people say he's cocky, he's in people's face, trash talk. Yeah, he is. But he's also, he doesn't care who you are. You're trying to intercept me, you're trying to disrupt what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to beat it. And when I beat it, I'm excited that we beat it. And that's what we want our guys. Like, hey, the whole game comes down to you and me, right? And the pitcher and the hitter relationship is the pitcher's got a plan of how you're going to get me out. And I've got a plan of how I'm going to try and beat you. You're trying to get me off my game. I'm trying to get you off your game. The guy who gets off his game loses. Right. And it doesn't necessarily mean you get a hit. It doesn't necessarily mean you don't give up a hit. It means that you don't get off your plan just because it's something good or something bad happened. Like for me, I really like it. I talk about being inside the baseball quite a bit, and we are not going to let somebody get inside our swings. If we are letting a pitcher get inside of our swings, you are losing. You have to be tougher than that. I can live with that ground ball you hit to the shortstop because I saw you fighting to stay in. I can take that flare job down the left field line because you're fighting. You're fighting for something that's outside just, I need a well hit here. I want an exit velocity. Exit velocities don't win games. Yeah. At bats win games. Pitches win games. Execution wins games. And we've lost a little bit of that. And how do you create that toughness? You create it by being very demanding in practice, by setting simple, very simple, attainable goals. It's simple and attainable, but it goes against everything that they want to do. They want to see the ball fly. They want to feel the ground ball and make sure that the way a lot of people teach defense is don't make a mistake. If you make a mistake, make sure it stays in front of you. Well, how about no? How about we're going to be aggressive? How about we're going to like simple rules, like we're going to be aggressive. No balls get under our glove, and no balls. If we can keep a ball in the infield, we keep it in the infield. And those are the three things we judge ourselves on, period. I never said anything about getting it out. I never said anything about, the style. I just said, these are the things. If I see you retreating on balls, that's not aggressive. If I see balls getting under your glove, can you control a ball getting under your glove? 100% you can. It can bounce over. It can bounce up. And then can you lay out? Can you show me you're just going to keep a ball in? Whether you make or play, it's a mentality. You're trying to teach your mentality. Can you stay inside a baseball when that guy's trying to bust you in? Do you give up and fly open and try and cheat? Or do you say, screw you, I'm not going to let you in there? Right. And then on the pitching side of things, can I be relentless at throwing the ball down in the strike zone? Just, I'm going to be relentless, and you're going to have to elevate something at the bottom in order to beat me. And if you do that, hats off to you, but I'm going right back to what I do, and that's who I am. Right. And some days it works out, some days it doesn't, but that's toughness. That's teaching toughness. Not, it was a great slider. Well, it was belt high and the guy swung through it. So congratulations. That's not a good pitch. That's not who we are. Let's get back to being, and on the opposite side, think, hey, great slider was down and away, and the guy freaking stayed on it and hit a double off the wall of the backside. Okay, hey, tip your hat. Great job.
Right.
So, but in today's age where everything's on social media, good, bad, in different videos of balls traveling, I get videos of guys exit velocity off a tee. Thanks for the measurement.
Right.
It doesn't certainly doesn't tell me if that guy can hit or not. It just tells me he's strong and he can hit a ball off a tee. So yeah, it's getting harder and harder for us as coaches to evaluate the intangibles, because people don't talk about them as much anymore.
Right.
It's like, just show me your skill set, show me your flash, show me what looks pretty. And that's why the portal's where it's at, because we recruit pretty, not gritty.
Sure.
And grit wins. And all you have to do is look at the NCAA basketball tournament. The team that won it wasn't the most talented team. They were in the Final Four. They were the most talented team. But the teams in the Final Four were experienced teams that were guys who played together, were unselfish, and that were going to do whatever it take to get the job done. They didn't care about labels. You had FAU, you had San Diego State, and UConn, obviously more of a blue blood. And I forget who the other team was, but all those teams were teams that were built from the ground up, and those teams learned they had to take their medicine, and they built and became they just learned how to win, right, with each other, unselfish, and whatever it freaking takes. And people would be like, oh, F you, they're not that good, boy. Yeah, but you know what they were good at? Not giving in. They just won't give in. They just kept playing their game.
Right. Well, hard, again, it's so hard to evaluate that and see it, from a recruiting standpoint, because you're not seeing the kids every day.
Right.
You're not, it's a lot easier to see that with your own players, the guys that you have. It's like, well, I know this guy has grit because I see it all the time, or he doesn't, or whatever. But in terms of teaching, you talked a little bit about, we're gonna have these standards that we abide by, and what, we didn't mention anything about making the play or not making the play. If you abide by those standards, success. Good job.
You're winning.
Right. So, what we do, what I've tried to get across to these kids that we have is, for example, let's take a 2-0 pitch, 3-1 pitch, super offensive count. I'm sitting dead red fastball over the heart of the plate, and I'm looking for that and that only, and I'm selling out to that. And let's say the pitcher throws just a perfectly dotted fastball on the black of the plate, outer half. What do most coaches do? Why are you taking a 2-0 fastball? Coach, I can't hit that. I can't hit that pitch hard on a 2-0 count. So why are you getting angry at me for taking a pitch that's a pitcher's pitch? I'm looking for something different. And it's not just the coaches, it's the fans too. It's like, oh, why?
What's he looking for? What's he looking for?
What are you looking for? Why are you not? It's just like, that's not his approach. Now, I'm not saying you got to look at that one right there, that pitch. But
I think from a coach's perspective in that situation, was the guy in hit mode, or was he in take mode? And you can see that, right? You can say, hey, that guy made an aggressive move and made a decision, no, rather than just a passive take where, like, hey, even if you were sitting there. So I'm trying to look at the intent of the pitch. Yesterday we're playing and we have a guy up, and I think the count is like 3-1. And I look at the runner on base and I look back, and this guy just takes like this cock shot fastball. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And he didn't make a move to hit, and I like kind of look down at him, and I kind of give him the like, hey, what's going on? And he goes, hey, it was 3-0. I was like, oh, okay. Hey, good job. Good job. You know,
Way to do
so
your job. Good
I
job.
was like, get ready. Like, who am I going to put into that slot?
You're
To
right,
hit?
right.
Guy doesn't
right.
want to hit. And here it was. I didn't have an idea of what the hell the situation was.
Yeah.
But no, to your point, like, yeah, have a plan in place, and your entire bat is going to that place. And if it arrives in that spot, and that's my spot, then I better be ready to hit it. And that doesn't mean we don't make some mistakes there too.
Yeah. I mean, from the other side of the spectrum, a 2-strike approach, we're teaching our guys to be late, right? I mean, with some exceptions, but like we're trying to hit the ball to the backside, give ourselves the best opportunity to hit all pitches. And I see coaches now like with a 2-strike approach, and the kid's late on it, and they're like, hey, you're a little late, be a little bit quicker. It's like, no, you foul a pitch off and almost, hit it into the opposite dugout with 2 strikes. Good job. That's what it should look like.
Yes.
And vice versa with a 2-0 count or a 3-1 count. If somebody throws you a curveball and you swing through it, good job. You thought it was a fastball, you got fooled, but you swung through it. You'd much rather see that instead of okay, I got to put my bat on it so coach doesn't get mad at me. I ground out to the pitcher, he throws me out, and I go back, and the coach is like, well, you swung at that pitch. It's like, no, swing through it or take it. It's like, what do you want to see from a player? And then reward them when they do it, even if they swing and miss, or even if they make a bad throw. If I'm an infielder and I got a guy who's feeling the ball out to first base, not throwing it hard, I'll usually say, listen, little Johnny, I don't care if this ball goes over the stands. I want you to throw it as hard as you possibly can. So instead of feeling the ball, throw it hard, learn how to do it aggressively, and then work back from there. Because over time, he's going to get better instead of you rewarding him for babying it over to first base. So I think that's the art of coaching, is rewarding staying in those standards instead of you made a mistake, bad.
Well, it's
that's
like,
a challenge.
It's whenever you golf, I golf, right? And you're standing over a foot putt, okay? And how do you screw up a foot putt? Well, you get tentative and say, I'm just gonna tap it in the hole. And even a foot or 6 inches, like if you watch golf, like those guys are knocking it off the back of the cup. Like it's an aggressive, like I'm not saying it's not, and that's where our guys, I think players need to understand there's aggressiveness and then there's hard, right? We're not trying to play the game hard. Playing the game hard is I run hard, I slide hard, stuff like that. The skills part of it, I'm trying to be aggressive. I'm trying to be in a positive mindset. Is I'm going to make this happen. I'm not going to have it happen to me. I'm going to make it happen. So even on balls, like you say early on, you have to learn to throw it hard as I can. And then you start feeling that aggressiveness, and I can be aggressive, getting my feet going and being firm over there. That can be aggressive feeds at second base, right? Same thing. We're not feeding the ball to second base on a double play hard. We're being firm and aggressive. And same with our approach to the plate with 2 strikes or hit and runs or anything we do bat control wise. The reason all those things get screwed up is guys get passive and tentative and say, I just got to make contact. I got to make contact. And what happens when that happens is I get out front, I get feely, flippy. You make way more mistakes. Same with bunting. They start trying to be softer and softer. Just be aggressive, get the ball down. And I think teaching and talking about aggressiveness and it is important. And I try to teach our infielders the difference between hard and firm. You know, hard and firm is different. I want to be firm with a bunt. I don't want to be hard with the bunt. I want to be firm with the bunt. I want to be aggressive with my swings. I don't want to be out of control on hard swings. I want to be firm and intentional with my swings. But like we do a drill where I set the machine up right now and it'll be set like at 100 miles per hour. And I tell our guys, you're going to go in there and get your freaking swing off. You go get your freaking swing off. Okay. And when they start at 100 miles per hour and they start going there with that intent, like I'm swinging the bat, I'm going to get my swing off, and there's no recourse. I'm not tracking well hits. I'm not tracking swings out of the zone. I'm not tracking anything. It's amazing. They stay in the zone better. They foul pitches off. They get into it bats more. And they're thinking way less. All they're thinking is, I'm going to get my swing off, and they will take pitches. And I'm like, holy cow, how did you take that? And they will stay on pitches, but they're in go mode. They're not into grind it out, think mode, you know, make sure I hit that. I don't hit this. Like, hey, let's go. And I think having plans are important, but I also think having plans can be a detriment. And I at times it takes the aggressiveness away from the player because they start thinking, I can do that, I can do this. And I think for high level athletes, you obviously in the major leagues, you got better have a plan. And I think the longer you play, planning becomes second nature. And it becomes easier to think about it. But when you're young, it's much harder if you don't have the experience in the back end to put towards it, you know? And I think we as coaches, even at the college level, I want all my guys to have a really good approach. But I think for some of my young players, like coming out of high school, I got to teach them, hey, like, let's start moving the bat. Let's start swinging. And then let's get some data that says, this is what I hit well, this is what I don't hit well. Rather than telling them, this is what you do well. Like, no, you're going to swing at everything. And then let's see your sprays. Let's see your hot zones. And then we can put together a plan and you can see it. It's not me telling you. The data shows you, hey, you do this really well.